genius of the Christian theological tradition in its complex glory as an intellectual reflection of the unsurpassable, incomprehensible love of God for creation. Balthasar was a man of the 20th century. He was born in Lucerne, Switzerland in 1905. His family was devoutly Catholic, and as a child he was educated at Benedictine and Jesuit schools. A talented student, he went on to post-secondary schooling in Vienna, Berlin, and then Zurich. He studied broadly in the humanities, especially literature, and he received a doctorate degree in 1928. His dissertation was a cross-disciplinary exercise in Christian eschatological and apocalyptic theology, as well as modern German literature. In 1928, he entered the Jesuit novitiate, and from 1931 to 1933, he studied scholastic theology and philosophy there, from which he learned much, although he eventually soured on this formal and formulaic approach to Christian intellectual life. It's just impossible to understand Balthasar's thought without realizing that he understood his whole intellectual career as a descent from the formal and abstract status quo in Catholic academic theology. Now, he believed the kind of theology he studied, neo-scholastic theology, was one-sided in its obsession with late medieval philosophy and its rigid question and answer method of reflection, and its insistence on defending Catholic truth in abstract and neutral rationality. All of this, Balthasar thought, sowed the seeds of much heterodox mischief in the Church. His encounter with neo-scholastic theology was so distasteful to him that he never pursued a doctorate in academic theology, nor did he ever hold a university professorship. Indeed, by the end of his life, a decade before his death, he was insisting that he was not a theologian. He said in an interview in 1976, "You address me as a theologian or a theological writer, but I never got my doctorate in theology. By nature and upbringing, I am a Germanist," which meant for him a scholar of German culture and language. Balthasar's later description of his experience studying theology in a Jesuit seminary is very instructive. He said he was, quote, languishing in the desert of neo-scholasticism, unquote. And his consequent righteous rage against the neo-scholastic machine reveals the adversarial agenda of his post-seminary intellectual career. He wrote, quote, "My entire period of study in the Society of Jesus was a grim struggle with the dreariness of theology and with what men had made out of the glory of revelation. I could not endure this presentation of the Word of God. I could have lashed out with the fury of Samson. I felt like tearing down with Samson's strength the whole temple and burying myself beneath the rubble. But it was like this because, despite my sense of vocation, I wanted to carry out my own plans, and I was living in a state of unbounded indignation." Unquote. During and after his seminary training, Balthasar became increasingly convinced of his vocation to defend the Catholic faith by challenging what he believed was its narrow intellectualism in the 19th and 20th centuries. He pursued this goal by returning to the eclectic scholarly interests that had characterized his pre-seminary university education. For example, as a university student in Zurich, Berlin, Vienna, Balthasar studied a whole host of topics including ancient philosophy, medieval theology, modern European philosophy, literature, music, and even psychoanalysis. Names like Plotinus, Kierkegaard, Goethe, Nietzsche, Freud, and Gustav Mahler, the great composer, framed many of the issues that dominated his thinking. And of course, his dissertation eventually